Hi, health coaches. This week we've got another health coaching Q&A episode for you. We're taking listener questions and riffing on them so you can learn and we can grow. Got a question? Submit it at hello@primalhealthcoach.com. Let's jump in. Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Hey, health coaches, I'm back with you for a Q&A episode. I'm loving doing these because I'm getting such cool questions from coaches out there in the coaching universe, practicing aspiring health coaches, folks with active client rosters, health coaches making a difference in the lives of people in their lives. And that just fills me with immense amounts of pride and joy to know that as an industry, we are out there doing this. And it excites me to no end. So I'm really pumped to be here, kind of hanging with you in a manner of speaking, answering your questions. If you have a question or something you want to ponder or have me talk through or work through on the show, you can submit that to hello@primalhealthcoach.com. And I'll kind of sift through all the questions that come in. And I want to pull out some good questions that I think a lot of us can learn from. So that's what I'm going to take you through today. I've got a really, really great question I'm excited to riff on today. And I just want you to buckle up and get ready to listen and learn. All right. So here we go. Today's question is from Wendy. She says, this is a programming question. How do you present the educational information to your clients? For example, email attachment, online course, Google Docs, and also how much do you give them? I'd like to be able to reduce the amount of information, but still get the message across. Do you have any tips or tricks or inside experience of what a client will read or take in before it's too much? Okay, so really thoughtful, well thought out question, thinking through the client experience. And the reason why I'm excited about this is because it spans three areas that I personally get very excited about and get very excited about teaching to health coaches. And that is number one, programming, number two, technology, and number three, the user or client experience. Okay, let's take a moment to define these three areas first before we go any further. Okay, so programming is number one. Programming refers to the method or approach or process your client goes through. Okay, this is sometimes called your signature methodology, or you might have heard it called your proprietary process. It's essentially the way you help a client solve or overcome a particular health struggle or challenge, or achieve their desired health goals. It's what you do with clients, in short. Okay. So a health coach can really help one kind of person solve one kind of problem. I believe that strenuously. I got one solution for one kind of person who's got one kind of struggle. And I love having that sort of granular, just focused approach. The program is the approach you use to accomplish this with your clients. Okay. So programming refers to the way you walk clients through your process. We should all have a program. Now, sidebar, when I'm teaching our students this in our business courses, I often will use the word program and product interchangeably. And I just want to spend a small moment differentiating those two sort of bits of semantics here. So the program is the methodology, it's the approach, it's the steps, it's the thing you put together to take the client through. I sometimes refer to it as a product because from a business development standpoint, from the perspective of building a business and marketing and putting yourself out there and selling your coaching services to someone, it is kind of useful to think of your coaching program as a product, a tangible thing that you sell. Here's the thing I made. It has a price tag. It has terms and conditions. It has standard operating procedures. It has features and benefits, right? So we, as consumers, I think all of us, we are very well acquainted with the process of buying things, but the process of buying services is maybe a little bit more vague, you know? So I think it helps us to think through business development when we think of our health coaching program as a health coaching product. So that's a distinction I make when I'm teaching folks business. But this is not really a business question. This is a programming question, which I love. I love programming questions, if I didn't mention it. So I'm going to continue to refer to it as a program. But hopefully there's clarity on what I mean, what we mean when we talk about programming. The series of steps, the methodology, the curriculum that you move your client through. Okay. So there must be some way for you to deliver this approach. There has to be, we need a platform, we need a system to deliver this approach. And there are honestly about 1 million ways to do that, some of which involve getting friendly with technology, and some of which don't require that at all. So let me share an anecdote with you that I think might help us all to grasp what we're going through here. So I truly did start my business right out the gate online, right from the get-go. In 2014, I started an online business. I had my site set on helping people all over the world. And I also came into health coaching from a previous career, like many of us did. And in my previous career, I learned a lot of technology. I became tech savvy. I'm a technically oriented person. So I feel, even though I felt comfortable with technology, this is 2014. I simply didn't have access to a lot of technology back then. Things have changed a lot. So the technology, the systems that we now have, much more robust, way, way larger selection to choose from, almost an overwhelming amount of options, which is probably the spirit behind Wendy's question in some ways. So I started by writing eBooks. I decided I need to start creating a system here, a curriculum. I'm just going to start writing. And I've shared before, I don't know if I have this handy, but somewhere in my shelf system over here in my office, I have my original MacBook from 2014 that I used to type up these eBooks, to create these protocols. And I've typed the letters off the keys. The keys have no letters on them anymore. I typed and typed and typed. And the thing is, there's a large process of iteration and revision that's going to go into this too. So don't think it's a one and done. I typed them, then I retyped them, then I retyped them and retyped them and kept rewriting them and rewriting them and reiterating them until I felt they were good. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. But I started with eBooks. I thought that's probably a good way to get at least my point of view, the processes, the steps I want my clients to do. That's a good way of getting it across to them. This is 2014, and the technology for hosting online curriculum, it just wasn't quite as robust as it is now. So let's think about this ebook thing, okay? Because actually, hear me out, but when you write an ebook, what you're actually writing is a book. It's just you're writing a book. It only becomes an ebook when you export it or convert it to a PDF, an electronic book. In case we forgot what the E stands for, it stands for electronic. So it's an electronic book because we wrote this thing, fingers flying on our keyboard, and then we exported it to a PDF, which is just a perfect, very compatible file type that virtually everybody can access and look at, which is what's nice about PDFs, in case you didn't know. Beautiful thing about PDFs is it maintains the formatting. It always looks the same, more or less, regardless of what device you're opening it on. Real nice, real nice. So when you have an electronic book, an ebook, you can do a lot of things with it, right? You can do a lot of things with this nice file. You can email the ebooks to your clients. You can host them on a dedicated Google Drive so your clients can access and download them. And you can also keep those PDFs up to date. The most current one is always available on Google Drive, right? That's nice. You can host them as downloadable files on your own website. That's relatively easy to do in most of these web building tools. You can upload them to a learning management system, or probably even better, you can actually copy the ebook content into course lessons in a learning management system. I'm going to talk about learning management systems a bit later on, so just stay with me on that. But the other thing you can do with an ebook is you can print it and physically hand it to your client in person. So I'm going to start here with many of my clients back in the day. In 2014, when I started my online business, many of my early clients were actually local. And I would meet them at coffee shops or even at their homes. I had special branded binders made up. Vistaprint, shout out to Vistaprint for these branded binders. So I would print and hole punch and organize these binders of printed material and then hand it over to my clients in person. Then their job was to read. Their job was to take the learning upon themselves. And then we would meet for the actual boots on the ground coaching sessions once a week. So despite this very ancient sounding analog nature of my binder system that I would physically hand to my clients and have them physically turn pages and read, the customer experience then and the client experience and the delivery of the coaching relationship and the coaching methodology was exactly the same as it is now that I use a technology platform. The binder is not much different than the online course that I currently host. The educational materials exist. I wrote them. That's the first thing. They have to exist. The client has full access to them. The onus is on the client to get through the learning materials with a little directional help from the coach. And then the coaching sessions are where you get into the weeds of execution of these protocols, which, by the way, is where the magic happens. So let's move from the analog into modern times and onto some of my favorite ways to deliver client educational material. We'll do this in order of, let's say, least to most complex from the perspective of needing to understand technology, with the important caveat that none of this is really complex at all. Do not shy away from technology because you feel non-technical. Okay, these tools are designed to be used by lay people, by online entrepreneurs, people like you and me. You don't need any technical ability at all to set them up and run them. Really. It's typing, it's copying and pasting, it's pasting in images, it's linking to articles, linking to websites, linking to videos. It's basic word processing. Okay, if you can use Microsoft Word or Apple Pages or, I don't know, Adobe PageMaker, ooh, there's a past blast, then you can use a learning management system or any of these online tools that I'm going to talk about, okay? So here we go. Least to most complex. Number one, email the PDFs, okay? You got to write the book. You got to convert it to PDF. That's easy to do. You can do that. For this, all you need is an email address. Go get myhealthcoachingbiz@gmail.com. Or, even better in my opinion, buy a web domain, build a landing page, and get a professional sounding email address like sally@myhealthcoachingbiz.com. I like that. I think that's a really more professional appearing sort of experience in email inboxes, but do what you can, okay? All you need is an email address. All you need is your email address and your client's email address, okay? You can operate your health coaching business like this for a long time before you ever have to leap into a proper tech platform, right? Because at first, you're going to have a few clients, and it's very easy to just maintain the coaching relationship and the educational materials through simple emails that you're just sitting down and writing every few days, right? It's actually a nice exercise to go through. It's nice to be in real time communicating back and forth with your client in the early days. Later on, you're going to have systems and automations once your business grows, and you're going to be a little less hands-on, which ultimately is a good thing. When your business grows, you will need to be less hands-on, but there's something very important and valuable and really, I feel nostalgia for the early days where I was in real time emailing back and forth with my few little clients that I had in my roster. It teaches you great customer service lessons. You got to be a good customer service manager in your business, right? I mean, that's one of your many hats. So this teaches you to do that. You're going back and forth with the client via email. The only thing here with this idea of emailing PDF books, eBooks, is that users are becoming more used to having true web-based solutions and documents. Okay, so in some ways, an emailed PDF is kind of archaic, right? Depending on the demographic you serve, they might be only using their mobile device. Mercifully, my demographic is like, we're on Team MacBook. We're always on our computers. I'm barely on my phone, but I'm on my computer all the time. But I don't know, you might be targeting a younger demographic or even a more tech savvy on the run demographic that just needs this to work on their phone, on their mobile device. Well, an emailed PDF isn't really a slick experience on mobile. It requires you to download, save the file, and then view it. Ideally, we want the client to save the file so they have access to it, because otherwise the file now lives in their inbox. They have to scroll and scroll and find it or search for it. I got to search for my coach's name because I got to pull up that ebook that she emailed me. Ideally, they're going to save the ebook, and doing that on a mobile device isn't a great experience yet. I'm an iPhone user, and there is a way to download a PDF into the Files app or the Books app on my iPhone, but then I have to remember that it's in there. I don't know. For some reason, it's just a bridge too far for me. That could be because I'm just too old. But, the PDF emailed, it works, but it's also a little behind the times. And thinking bigger picture, the rest of the online parts of your business, okay, like intake forms, taking payment, booking their weekly coaching calls with you, all of these are also better served by using an actual pertinent technology, right? You don't want your client mailing you a check or Venmoing you. I mean, you can do that, I guess, if you want, but like an actual payment merchant system, an actual booking system. There's beautiful technology designed, again, like I said, for new online business owners to use so that the customer experience is low friction. We're on our phone, we click the button, we type the credit card number. We're on our phone, we click the button, we open the calendar, we select the appointment. These are low friction experiences for clients, and that's what you want. But we'll get to that in a second, because that's wrapped up in the user experience topic, which I love talking about, and I want to bring that around later. But so in terms of educational delivery, emailed PDF ebooks are where you could start. Okay. Next on the complexity train, you could take those very same PDF ebooks and upload them to a Google Drive folder. So in your Google Drive, in your Gmail account, assuming you're a Google user, I am making that assumption. I just think it's one of the most ubiquitous platforms. I mean, really. In your Google Drive, start a folder that's client materials or the name of your program, and upload the ebooks into that folder, and then give your clients folder level access so that they can go into that folder and download those ebooks to their computer. Okay. Now, this experience is, again, slightly more difficult on mobile. The idea of downloading, same deal. If you give a Google Drive link to an iPhone user, for example, they're going to click the link. It's going to maybe open their Google Drive app. If they want to save that document to their phone, again, it's going to go into the Files app or the Books app. I do think that the Google Drive link is more of a nicer user experience, because, again, the client could have the Google Drive app on their phone, just open that app, boom, there's the folder, there it all is. In some ways, that's a little nicer. They can view these files in Google rather than having to download it onto their phone. Easier to keep track of than trying to keep track of an email that you sent, 6 weeks ago or whatever. So the other good thing about Google Drive and the G Suite in general is, as I touched on a second ago, it's like we're all using it, kind of whether we like to or not. Somehow we're all using these systems. More and more people are becoming more and more literate to this suite of products. I think most of us, I don't know about you, but I engage with Google Drive, Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Forms on a multiple times per day basis. I'm always in the G Suite. So I think there's just a high level of customer literacy, which is great. Here's a platform I know how to use. I know how to navigate Google. I know how to read Google Doc. Speaking of Google Docs, you could write your programming in Google Docs, right? So let's pull back here for a sec, right? In this ebook paradigm that I've talked about, you've written You've typed up your ebook using whatever Microsoft Word or whatever you have on your computer, and then you've exported it as an ebook. Well, you could actually just do that writing in a Google Doc, a living document that's in your Google Drive, and then skip the whole convert to PDF thing. This is now a live document that you could always update in real time. It's always the most current one. You have editor access to it. You grant your clients viewer access to it. So if you've ever shared a file through the G Suite, you click the share button. It's going to give you the opportunity to copy the link, so you can send the link if you want to your clients, but you have to establish the share setting. So how much access to this Google document, Google Drive is the person going to have? And it's either a viewer, editor, or commenter. So I think you'd want to give your clients probably viewer access so they can look at the document, but they can't make any changes to it. So I think the G Suite is a really nice bridge to a true learning management system that lives online. Okay. I think it's a notch above emailing a PDF, because I do think at some point in the not too distant future, emailing PDFs is going to go very out of style. It's almost like when I went for a physical therapy appointment. I had a little injury I was working on, and the physical therapy clinic emailed me a PDF of the intake form I needed to fill in. I was like, what? So I opened the PDF on my computer, because I'm not going to do this on my phone, although I would have liked to. But I opened it on my computer, and it wasn't even an editable, fill-inable PDF form. I had to print this form. Well, I have a printer, but I haven't turned it on in a couple of years. I had to figure out how to turn the printer on. I couldn't figure out how to drive to Staples and print it. Then I had to get a pen, and I haven't handwritten now, and it's been years. I don't think I remember how to do it. Very digital over here. Had to fill in the form. Then I had to use my phone to scan it and email it back. And it was very fraught. And I know I sound like a complete big baby whining about this simple set of steps I had to complete. But I thought to myself, all they had to do was, like, at the very least, make this PDF editable so I could type in my answers. Or even better, use any one of the platforms that exist for physical therapy clinics to do intake forms. I mean, how many times have you gone to the doctor or the clinic for an appointment and there's a digital intake form? That's what we expect now, right? So I do really believe that emailing around PDFs is kind of dinosaur mode. Yeah, but you can start that way. With an ebook, it's less of a friction. I do not recommend using PDFs and emailing your forms out in that way, unless you're very, very good at creating nice, high quality PDF forms that can be filled in, which honestly is an art and science by itself. We got to think a bit more digitally. And as I touched on earlier in this riff, the technology that exists for you, a person who is not a computer programmer, but is a health and wellness coach, an online entrepreneur. Are you a health coach who wants more hands-on coaching training? Are you thinking about becoming board certified? Primal Health Coach Institute's Master Coach Certification Program checks both of those boxes. It's live, so you get to ask questions as you go, and we cap the number of students for each round so you get individualized attention and plenty of opportunity to practice your coaching skills with faculty and peers. Coaches become great with experience, and this course fast tracks that educational experience so you don't have to spend years learning directly from clients. You'll know exactly how to coach for optimal results in just 12 weeks. It also prepares you to sit for the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches exam so you can become a board-certified health coach. We only offer this certification program twice a year, and it fills up fast. So be sure to learn more at primalhealthcoach.com and reserve your seat soon. So, moving along our trajectory of least to most complex, now we get into learning management systems. Learning management system, LMS. This is a platform like Thinkific or Kajabi. There's lots of them. Teachable. I can't think of half of them. Kartra, a few different ones, and they all have lots of different functions to them. But I'm going to really zero in on their learning management function. So essentially, this is a tool specifically designed for building online courses. I almost guarantee if you're listening to this, you've taken an online course. You're a health and fitness and wellness nerd. You probably have 10 certificates from online schools and you've taken an online course. So you as a user are probably savvy to the experience of taking an online course. And you can now build one. I like this. I like that this tool exists to build simple online courses. And the learning management systems are really designed for any industry. You could be teaching health concepts. You could be teaching how to build model airplanes. You could be teaching dolphin training. It doesn't really matter. The platform is the platform. It's designed to deliver lessons in a digital format. Always mobile friendly. Right out the gate, this is mobile friendly. The technology platforms are friendly to mobile. You don't have to do anything. You devise a set of chapters and lessons. That's kind of the vernacular that we use at Primal Health Coach Institute, but you could probably call them modules if you wanted to. But to me, a chapter is a big concept, and the lessons are the smaller little concepts that live under the big concepts, if that makes sense. So you've written your ebook. The ebook has some broad topic. That's probably the chapter. And then every sort of section of the ebook, every heading might be a lesson in under that topic. So chapters, lessons, that's kind of the vernacular that we like to use around our school. You can have text lessons, which is great for those of you who are big time writers like me. I think there's something to be said about writing. I don't know. I'm fond of writing, so I like writing. But you could also do audio and video lessons. And in fact, that again is probably a play to your demographic. What type of content does your target audience seem to like to engage with? Or what are you teaching, right? If you're teaching fitness and mobility and movement, well, you're probably going to want to use video because that doesn't really translate well in text. Ask me how I learned how to swim. I read a book on it. It didn't go well. The book got very wet. Mind you, a computer would also get wet. So I think swimming is one of those kinesthetic things you have to learn by just physically getting in there and doing. But anyway, getting back to our topic here, all kinds of different lessons you can host in these LMSs, text, video, audio, anything, right? It's very easy to add lessons, to add chapters, to remove lessons, at the click of a button, putting this new chapter in. At the click of a button, I'm turning this old chapter off because I don't really want to talk about it with my clients anymore, or whatever it might be. You can move things around, clicking and dragging, okay? It's incredibly easy to use. You'll be amazed at how easy these systems are to use. Do not be afraid of them because of the technology. Now, what does make people a little afraid of these things is now we've gotten into something that we have to pay for, right? So these platforms do have free versions, but you're not going to get much functionality out of the free versions. You only probably have access to maybe one course, maybe I don't know, 10 or 15 clients. You'll want to pay to upgrade these things, but I don't think they're terribly expensive. I think for example, I use Thinkific in my business, and I want to say the entry level package is something like maybe $30 a month. I'm completely making that up, but to me, it was a cost of doing business. You know, if I can have a very slick user experience, which I'm still going to talk about, that's worth it to me. And maybe I only have 2 clients right now, but I'm pretty soon I'm going to have 102. And it'll be really nice if I can just, pop them into the course. They get this really nice, beautifully oriented, mobile-friendly learning experience. So now we're getting into paid solutions. And that, for a lot of new health coaches, is kind of a big step, something to consider. Google Suite, free, email, free. But now you're going to start paying for some of these solutions, okay? Cost of doing business. Inside these learning management systems, for example, you can have something called a drip schedule. So this is where the curriculum is released on a certain timer. So the person is enrolled, for example, on day 1, they might receive this chapter. And then 7 days later, now they get access to the next chapter, and 7 days later. So if you had a weekly chronology where every week you wanted to move your client through something specific, a drip schedule is very handy. So again, if you want a drip schedule, you're going to have to pay. That's part of a paid upgrade into most of these systems. I don't think every health coach needs to have a dripped curriculum. I don't. My curriculum is all of it's available to my clients right away. Here's everything you're going to learn, because that's the kind of program that I have. But let's say, for example, you are a health coach that works with clients who have, autoimmune diseases, and you're working them through a very deliberate, maybe elimination diet. So there's an elimination protocol, then there's a reintroduction protocol, and maybe there is a chronology, or maybe you're in the fitness space and there's sort of a progressive overload. So you have to do this for a while until you do the next thing. So a drip schedule might be something that you want. And this is automated. So you don't have to remember, oh, Sally's on week 3. I have to email her the week 3 lesson. It's all dripped. And What I will tell you is that the sooner you can automate your processes, the happier you'll be. Because what I ended up doing was I had to play major catch up. I had all my manual systems in place, and then my business grew. And it grew to the point where when it was time for me to say, okay, I can't do this manually anymore. I have to go and get some automated systems. It was really actually a lot of work to start automating all my manual processes. So I would say just a little maybe hint from the ghost of health coaching future is that start thinking and planning for the day when you eventually will want to have more automated systems, right? So if you have a larger client roster, a learning management system is nice. You just enroll them and it takes care of the delivery of the material. Also, LMSs often will have an app experience. So you can have an app on your client's phone. Your client can have an app that's the coach app. It wouldn't be branded probably yours unless you wanted to pay a little extra for some white labeling, but they would know the Thinkific app or the Kajabi app is the one they have to open to access your curriculum. Just a side bonus from a business development perspective of building out your course in a learning management system is that once you have it built, you can duplicate it and sell your course as a DIY online course. So you have your curriculum that your clients will go through. And that's maybe a higher ticket offer because a coaching relationship is a higher ticket, more expensive product. But you could have a medium ticket, do it yourself online course that people can just click and buy, click and buy, click and buy. I'll be really honest with you. I don't sell many of those because people either want because it's a medium ticket offer. It's my whole curriculum you can get access to if you're self-motivated enough to do it. But like people aren't. People aren't. If people were self-motivated enough to make these changes, they would have. What they need is a coach. So I don't sell a ton of DIY courses. I don't market it. I don't even encourage my clients. Like when I get on the phone with somebody on a discovery call, if they ask me what are all the options that I can have to work with you, I almost never mention my DIY course because I just don't think it's really going to change lives. It's really awesome as hosting curriculum that is then facilitated through a coaching relationship. I don't know, the course by itself, it's nice to have. You can have it as sort of like I said, a medium ticket, quote unquote, passive income stream. And it's easy to do. Once you've built it once, you duplicate it and just put a different price tag on it, have it linked out on your website or on your Instagram bio links or whatever, and people can pay a few $100 to just learn what you know. Kind of cool, right? Okay, that's learning management systems. And if you can't tell, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of those. Next, we have a different branch of technology. And we're going from least to most complex. So this is probably the most complex that you can get. These are called practice management systems. These are health coaching industry specific and wellness industry and healthcare industry specific platforms like Practice Better, Healthy. I'm thinking like Jane app, Coach Catalyst. These are designed not only to host educational material, but also to do a lot of other things like track your client's progress, their outcomes, their data points, allows you to keep client records and message your clients. These are very robust tools that are specific to health and wellness practices. So it's not just about hosting a curriculum, it's about managing your whole practice. Okay. From a course building perspective, going back to the original question, which is how am I educating my client? These practice management tools work all the same. They kind of all work the same as each other, to be quite honest with you. So I've personally built courses in Thinkific and Kajabi, which are learning management systems. And then when it came time for me to learn the Coach Catalyst and the Practice Better platforms, I was already literate. They work very much the same: typing, copying, pasting, linking, organizing, etc. So from a course building perspective, they basically work the same. But where practice management systems differ is in all the extra bells and whistles, all the extra functionality they offer to help you run your practice if you think you want or need that. Early on in your health coaching practice, it might be more than you need. But again, you want to think long term. What will my practice become? Is it worthwhile for me to get into a larger, more robust practice management system now so I can figure it out? And so it will grow with me instead of later on down the line having to squeeze all my old manual processes into this nice, slick solution. So you have to do a little bit of forward thinking. But, in these tools, they have, like your client forms can live in there. Again, data and metrics can live in there. In some cases, they have video chat and calendar functions built into the platform so you can plan and host your coaching sessions right inside the platform and all your workshops and everything, all your teaching moments. So it's like a one-stop shop for your whole coaching practice. From the perspective of simply hosting online educational material, which was the spirit behind this question, any of these digital solutions is useful. Pick the one that seems right for you now. Don't sleep on contemplating what your coaching practice will become. You want to think a little bit, just spend a little bit of mind share considering what happens when I grow. Is this going to be easy to now move into a new, bigger system when the time comes? Because the time will come. There are probably some other ways to do this too. So some community and social platforms like Facebook and Mighty Networks, for example, they have evolved with content hosting and delivery methods that might enable you to deliver a course material. So I personally haven't played around with these too terribly much, but if it felt important to you to have a community aspect inside or adjacent to your online curriculum, that could be something to consider, right? So again, you want to think through the entirety of your health coaching business and how you want it to kind of feel and be for yourself and for your clients. I have played around with building a course in Mighty Networks, and I've also taken a course that somebody else built in Mighty Networks, and it was generally familiar. Like I recognized it. I thought to myself, oh, I get this. I've done this before. I could figure this out because it reminded me of Kajabi. It reminded me of Thinkific. They all really, truly work quite the same. So the final factor to consider is the user experience. And I feel that this is one factor that goes way too overlooked. Because oftentimes coaches can get into the weeds thinking about what platform they want to use and why. Sometimes I think coaches pick the platform that seems the most professional or legitimate, or that everybody else is using, or whatever the case may be. And you should pick a platform that you like and that you're willing to learn and stick with for a while, because I think you are going to stick with your original process for a while before you move on. I would actually encourage it. Don't feel like you have to jump ship to the next thing. Don't do that. You're going to waste some time. Pick a thing that you can work with for now. At some point in the medium term future, you're going to outgrow it and you'll have to move to the next thing, but don't be in a hurry to jump into any of these solutions. Pick one that you like and that you feel confident that you can work with. And then move on. Pick a platform and move. Just pick a platform and move. We got to get going, right? I wouldn't want anybody to belabor the selection of technology to the point where they forgot to get started writing and helping people, right? So pick a tool, move on, But as you're doing this, consider how you want your clients to navigate the process of learning. Okay? Consider the client experience, the user experience. Don't sleep on this. Before you go live with any system, test it and test it and test it. For example, let's say you decide to write eBooks and host them on Google Drive. Okay, so you got the Google Drive link, you've got viewer access. Test this across many different hardware types: PC, Mac, iPhone, Android, if you can, right? Most of us don't have access to all that technology, but do your best. Check that the steps to retrieve and view and scroll and navigate and read, like the font size, everything is totally straightforward, really nice. It's like at the click of a button, the document opens and I can scroll and read it. If there's anything about that, if it's ooh, the font's too small, well, the client will just have to zoom in. No, showstopper. Go back into the document, increase the font size, try it again on your phone, get it to the point where you can click it, open it, and read it and scroll without having to do any pinch zooming, right? You want this to be very, very low friction customer experience. Anywhere in your coaching product, program, systems that has friction is something to solve. Because friction in the customer experience at any point, unfortunately, often has the result of affecting the appearance of quality, of value, right? Value. So when a consumer makes an investment, they want to trust that they're getting pertinent value. And the customer experience in a service-based business like ours is a large part of that. Here's an example that I always love to share. When I go to the oil change place, the drive-through oil change place, That customer experience is so great. I know exactly what to do. I just pull into the parking lot and the guy waves me over, tells me exactly where to put my car, stop, wait here. Here's a newspaper. I don't know if yours get easy a newspaper to sit and read, as if I don't have my phone to scroll on, but I like it. It's quaint. Gives me a newspaper to read while I wait for the bay to open up. Once the other car in front of me gets out of the bay, they open the door. He guides me in. He tells me when to stop. He tells me to turn my engine off, tells me to turn my engine back on, rev to 2000. Like everything I have to do is he's explained it to me because he knows I don't know how to do oil changes. And I only get this done once every few months. And I probably forget what it's like. The oil change people, they got the customer experience really dialed, and it's always what you expect. Okay. So that's a service-based business. If you think about it, yes, I'm getting oil, but the experience of having my car serviced is nice. There's nothing I have to overthink. I don't feel bewildered or confused. I feel like I'm getting the value. I'm getting what I asked for. They're doing a good job. So customer experience is enormously important. So think about it now, because health coaching costs a little more than an oil change, I always think a health coaching relationship is in the ballpark of like a week-long vacation somewhere or a computer. It's in that medium ticket-ish price point. What if it's at that price point, but it doesn't feel expensive? What if it's at that price point, but it feels kind of cheap? That's a mismatch of value. You want it to feel like it's worth the price. Of course, we know the value is in the change the client is going to make, but they don't necessarily know that up front. So if your systems and your processes deliver a high value sort of first impression, then you're going to keep the client excited to go through the process with you and get the life-changing outcome, which is 10x the value of what they paid, 100x, right? So we just want to make sure that our systems, our processes, the tools and technology that we're using delivers an experience that appears to be valuable. Okay, the final part of Wendy's question is, how much should I teach? And here's what I can tell you from experience, not only building my own program, but helping health coaches build their programs. And that is, we will always, always start with way too much. And that's because you're excited. And I love that for you. Once you've started writing, you're going to write the letters off your keyboard. Okay, you're going to write the letters right off your keyboard. You're going to write and write and write. You're going to brain dump everything you've ever learned and all the podcasts you've listened to and all the courses you've taken, the books you've read and the personal experiences and anecdotes and N of ones that you've tried and all these clients that you've worked with who've had this outcome or that outcome and all these problems that you realize you're an expert in solving. And these protocols are going to be very robust and potentially contain way more information than your clients really need or want to consume. And that's okay, because you're going to iterate. You're going to figure that out. Oh, my client's eyes are glazing over. They didn't read page 75 of my protocol document. They didn't get that far. Maybe this document's too long. Maybe there's too much. Maybe I'm confusing them with just too many different concepts. Maybe I can chunk this out into smaller and smaller lessons, which I would encourage. Smaller lessons are better. Just know, though, your iteration and revision is your life for the next several years, and enjoy it, right? I tell you again, I feel real nostalgia for thinking back to that time. My course, my curriculum at this point is very established, and it has shrunk exponentially over the years. I think what you'll find by running clients through your program is that the content shrinks and lightens as you go. But you honestly have to learn this by taking clients through it. I don't think you can imagine or assume how much of what needs to be there until you get people going through it, and they're going to help you build it and iterate it. And you have to just be okay with that. It's a really productive way of product development, is producing the product alongside the consumer who's using it. This is the concept of building your program with your client. And I think that's where we should all kind of start. So, but where do we start though? Because we have to have a starting point, right? The client's going to help us build and iterate as we take more and more clients through. It's going to really, zero us in on the final product eventually. But where do we start? We have to know where to start. Starting is very important. Well, I get my business students to start with the first thing. Probably sounds pretty obvious, right? What's the first thing they need to do? create the very first lesson your ideal client will need to learn based on what kind of problem you're the expert in solving. So play this little imagination game with me, okay? Oh my gosh, you open your inbox, a client has just signed up. You got the notification in your inbox that they've finished the intake forms, they've completed the payment, they've signed the agreement, they're ready to go. You're getting ready to onboard them tomorrow. So they're ready to go. Tomorrow's the onboarding session where you get them enrolled in your curriculum, wherever that is hosted, learning management system, Google Drive, email, PDF, eBooks. Tomorrow's the day they need to receive the first thing they're going to learn from you. So what is the first thing they need to learn from you? What's the first thing you'd like to have them do? That's the first one you write. That's the first ebook you write. That's the first online lesson you write. Okay, so for example, for me in my program, the first thing I get most of my clients to do is start eating breakfast. I know, I just horrified all the intermittent fasting coaches. But in my program, with my approach, the thing I'm the expert at solving with the type of people that I work with, eating an intentional protein dominant breakfast is the number one step I want everybody to do. Just for practice. For the first week, just all you're going to do is practice eating breakfast. And here's why. So I have a whole section of my online curriculum that explains the importance of consuming a protein-forward breakfast in the early part of the day. That was the first lesson I needed to write. That was the first ebook I wrote. The very first client that came through, her name was Tennille, because you don't forget a name like Tennille. Tennille got the binder with the breakfast ebook printed, physical book. And I said, Tennille, here's your first lesson. I want you to read through this. And here's what we're going to talk about. I want to talk about how we're going to get breakfast working for you. So take me through your day, take me through your schedule. What foods do you like? What foods do you not like? Now we're into coaching mode. Breakfast is the objective, but I got to coach Tennille to create breakfast every day. So she can go off and have a week of breakfast and then come back for session 2, in which case I'm like, oh, what's session 2 going to be? Well, session 2, I'm going to teach Tennille why protein is important at breakfast and why other breakfasts aren't very good, like these Danishes and bagels that people insist on eating in bowls of cereal. I don't think that's a great breakfast for somebody like Tennille. And I'm going to write a lesson explaining why, how fuel works in the body at breakfast time. So then I had my plan for week 2. Now you're hustling, you're grinding because you're writing this content as the client is progressing through the lessons. I mean, that's chaotic, but we got to do it. So your first lesson might be a food behavior. It might be a lifestyle behavior relating to sleep or stress. It might be a movement practice. It might be a mindset practice, maybe a value-centric goal-setting exercise or something like that. But essentially have lesson 1 sketched out in your mind, and even better, start writing it right now. And then as your client finishes their first week, the next lesson they need to learn will be clear to you. So allow your clients to help you build the program, but don't tell them that you're doing that. So no matter what technology you use or don't use, one fact remains: it is time to start writing. Irrespective of the delivery method, the protocols must first exist: your system, your approach, your program. And that's on you to create and have so much fun doing that. It is a very fun, challenging exercise that will stretch and grow you. Thanks for that question, Wendy. That was so fun. And thanks for listening, coaches. We'll see you next time.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.